Greetings. I welcome you to this day of reflection, this, the Monday within the octave of Easter. I hope that your Easter holiday was a blessed and joy filled holiday. As we all know, it was just a little bit different, if not a lot different. What made matters all the more interesting was, of course, the snow and the cold weather. In fact, as I mentioned to somebody yesterday, it did not feel like Easter, of course. It felt more like Thanksgiving. But nevertheless, as I pointed out regarding my Easter homily, Easter is still Easter. And therefore, we need to take the suffering and we need to take this death of Jesus and celebrate the Lord's resurrection. I want to pray and read to you this very day the gospel that we have before us according to Matthew. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went away quickly from the tomb, fearful yet overjoyed, and ran to announce the news to his disciples. And behold, Jesus met them on their way and greeted them. They approached, embraced his feet, and did him homage. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go tell my brothers to go to Galilee, and there they will see me." While they were going, some of the guard went into the city and told the chief priests all that had happened. The chief priests assembled with the elders and took counsel. Then they gave a large sum of money to the soldiers, telling them, "You are to say, his disciples came by night and stole him while we were asleep. And if this gets to the ears of the governor, we will satisfy him and keep you out of trouble." The soldiers took the money and did as they were instructed. And this story has circulated among the Jews to the present day. What is interesting about this particular text from the gospel according to Matthew is simply the role of fear. The role of fear in these people's lives. And then it helps us to ponder the role of fear in our own lives. Remember, we hear how Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to the tomb and they discovered what they discovered. The body of Jesus was no longer there. They were, as we hear proclaimed, fearful yet overjoyed. And then, in contrast, we hear about the chief priests. And as they heard of the resurrection, they were threatened. Their power was now in question. And as their power was now in question, then what happened was they engaged in somewhat of a cover up. They denied this particular event. And they tried in every way to persuade people to see a different way of life altogether. It is important for us to know, in light of Easter, in light of the resurrection, the role of fear in each of our own lives. Where does this fear, which is a normal human reaction, a normal human response, take us? Does our fear take us all the more into the grace of God? Or does this fear take us all the more into the evil which is so predominant in our world and in our lives? Where does this fear take us? We do not empower the fear, we empower ourselves. And by virtue of the very gift of Easter, we make that choice and we make that decision to exercise the power we possess now because of the Lord's resurrection, to live the life of grace rather than the life of evil. Where does fear take us? Does it take us to a new place altogether? Or does it return us to a place in which we find ourselves not only alienated and isolated, but lonely? I ask you this day then to consider that. Look at all of the fears in your life at this very moment. Maybe it is the fear of this pandemic. Maybe it is the fear of joblessness. Maybe it is the fear of finances. Maybe it is the fear of just anxiety and depression. Whatever the fear is, where does it take you? Or more important, in what way do you make that choice and decision to allow Easter to then accompany the fear into the life of grace rather than the life of evil? If we make that choice and we make that decision by virtue of the power of Easter to allow that fear to take us into the life of grace, then we know that God will be present to us, that God will be in his own particular way victorious as he empowers us to deal with the pandemic, the joblessness, the financial insecurity, the anxiety, and the depression. It will not defeat us. We will defeat it. But we then today subject ourselves to the life of grace. We do not subject ourselves to the life of evil. Easter says grace is victorious. Do we believe that? And are we willing to allow God to speak to us as we progress from fear into grace? And so not only provide solace and relief, but just as important, hope. Good day. And again, please keep all of the world in prayer as we continue to pray for those today afflicted with the coronavirus and all of the caregivers and caretakers responsible for their care. But we also lift up in prayer the many people who have suffered the consequences of the terrible tornadoes in the southeastern United States, that they may continue to be led into the life of grace and so have their hope renewed and restored. Good day.